the real reason behind the UK's economic collapse, and what you can do about it. A lot of people have been talking about the UK's economic collapse in recent months, with many experts saying that it's only just the beginning, and the worst hasn't even happened yet. There are even some who say that 2008 was nothing compared to what's coming, and that we're all going to be in for a very rude awakening within the next couple of years. But why do they think this? And what can you do to prepare yourself? Let's take a look. What is happening in the UK? The Great Recession of 2008 affected every country in some form, but few countries have felt its effects as strongly as Britain. In many ways, Britain's Great Recession is worse than America's. More severe GDP decline, deeper unemployment, more austerity. Most analysts agree that there are a number of reasons for these discrepancies. Some say that British banks were exposed to more risky loans, others point to high public debt or large fiscal deficits. All of these factors contributed to Britain's recession, but none of them tell us why things have been so bad in comparison with other European economies and why recovery has been so slow. If we want to understand why things are going so badly, we need to look at something else entirely: demographics. How did it happen? The United Kingdom's economic recession is in many ways a natural result of one party having far too much power for far too long. The Conservative Party has held a majority in Parliament since David Cameron first took office as Prime Minister back in 2010, having won over 6 million votes more than their opponents that year. This gave them control over all three major branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. This meant they could implement policy without any sort of opposition from other parties or even from within their own ranks. That's why many people have called Britain's current economic collapse a conservative recession. The policies that have led to its decline were passed by conservatives in power at every level of government. Now, however, that same Conservative Party has been forced into an alliance with Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, DUP, after failing to secure enough seats on its own during last month's snap election. The DUP also happens to be significantly more conservative than most members of Parliament from England and Wales. So how will these two very different groups work together? And will a minority government help stabilize British politics? What will happen next? The UK is in for a rough ride over the next few years, according to economic experts. This collapse is likely to happen towards 2022, but in 2018 there's no need to panic. We still have time to prepare ourselves. In a little while we'll examine each of these events in detail, but first, let's take a quick look at why they might happen. Why will UK economy collapse? There are several reasons that economists predict a crash, including a huge debt. Britain has one of the highest levels of public debt in Europe, over £1 trillion. It's unlikely that any political party would risk cutting spending before an election, meaning interest rates on government bonds could rise rapidly. An aging population. UK life expectancy is increasing by around 2 months every year, the longest increase since records began. As more people live longer, their pensions cost more money to pay out. Are you affected? Are you affected by Britain's economic crisis? If so, here is some information on how to prepare yourself for what's to come. Although not everyone is affected by a nation's economic situation directly, many are impacted by changes in public spending, consumer confidence and employment figures. We have provided an analysis of these factors to help answer questions on why crises occur, and how they impact consumers. In addition, we discuss steps that you can take today to protect your finances. We also offer guidance on investing in real estate as a safe haven asset class for volatile markets. Let's begin with an overview of recent events. Crisis caused by overspending. The UK has experienced a significant growth in consumer debt over several decades. Since 2010, inflation has averaged 2%, while wage growth has averaged 0%. As a result, UK households have had to rely more heavily on credit cards and loans to maintain their lifestyles. The UK government further increased household debt levels when it increased public spending dramatically following 2008's financial crisis. This occurred despite increasing income inequality, stagnant wage growth and high youth unemployment rates across most of Europe. Who is responsible? If we keep taking on more debt, then UK consumers will reach a point where they won't be able to pay their bills. When that happens, we will face an economic crisis like nothing seen in living memory. However, if we work together as a nation and make some important sacrifices now, we could avoid such a crisis entirely. The question is, will we do it? And how soon? Here is our guide to UK economy collapse explained. Economy 2019. Title: What caused UK economy crash 2022? UK economy 2032. This week brought yet another record low for sterling against other currencies, after UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced he was suspending Parliament until mid-October. In response, US President Donald Trump tweeted his support for Johnson and said he would raise tariffs on British goods entering America if the pound goes down any further. What can we do about it? Now, first of all, let's think about why we find ourselves in such a precarious economic position. The root cause is simple: there are too many people. It's that simple. There aren't enough resources to support a growing population. If we don't address it, then we will soon find that our standard of living and quality of life are reduced massively. What can we do? Well, if you want to survive as an individual, then your best bet is to start learning how to grow your own food and produce your own energy. You need to become self-sufficient so that you can take care of yourself without relying on others. This isn't just for when society collapses either. Being able to provide for yourself means you have more freedom as well as security. In order for us as a species to survive, we need individuals who are willing and able to look after themselves instead of relying on others.